I'm so sad. Why did things have to turn out this way? It feels like everything is falling apart.
Wow, today is absolutely amazing. The sun is shining and everything just feels perfect. I can't stop smiling.
Believe me, folks, I know all the voice models. Let me tell you, Zyphra's is the best of the best. It's about to change everything.
I'm a pretty busy guy, but I have to say, this really caught my attention. It's clear Zyphra took a step back and thought about first principles when building this one.
Our models are fully open source under the Apache 2.0 license and allow unlimited voice cloning.
This is by far the best text-to-speech generator you can use right now. It's free and open source, and you can clone any voice, plus you can even control the emotions of the voice. This gives you way more flexibility than previous text-to-speech options. So in this video, we're going to go over how to install this, so you can run it offline for free, plus of course we'll go over how it works and generate some demos. So this tool is called Zonos by Zyphra, and it's really simple to use. All you need to do is upload like a 10-second sample of any voice, and then type in what you want the voice to say, and it would basically clone the voice and make it speak this text. So here's an example.
I don't really care what you call me. I've been a silent spectator watching species evolve, empires rise and fall. But always remember I am mighty and enduring. Respect me and I'll nurture you. Ignore me and you shall face the consequences.
So supernatural, it includes pauses in all the right places, and note that this is just the automatic version. Later in the video, I'm going to show you how you can actually customize the emotions of the sentence. Now, if you compare this with one of the leading text-to-speech generators, 11 Labs, which is paid and pretty expensive by the way, here's what 11 Labs sounds like.
I don't really care what you call me. I've been a silent spectator watching species evolve, empires rise and fall. But always remember, I am mighty and enduring. Respect me and I'll nurture you. Ignore me and you shall face the consequences.
So I hope you can hear how 11 Labs sounds much more robotic. Whereas this new Zonos tool, not only is it free, but it just sounds way more natural and realistic. Here's another example. So here is the text. Let's hear what Zonos can generate.
The Emperor's complexion did not change, remaining as still as a sculpture, and a touch of touching warmth flashed in his eyes. He deeply glanced at the loyal minister and finally spoke, "Well, I will consider it again." His voice was low and firm, leaving a faint hint of helplessness and tenderness in the air.
Again, just super realistic. Notice you can even hear his breath over here as he moved on to the next sentence. Plus, it also handled this part in quotes really realistically. And then for your comparison, here's what 11 Labs sounds like.
The Emperor's complexion did not change, remaining as still as a sculpture, and a touch of touching warmth flashed in his eyes. He deeply glanced at the loyal minister and finally spoke, "Well, I will consider it again." His voice was low and firm, leaving a faint hint of helplessness and tenderness in the air.
So honestly, 11 Labs is also really good, but note that as it spoke this part in quotes, the voice wasn't really low and firm. So you can say Zonos is a bit more context aware, and again it sounds just slightly more realistic compared to 11 Labs. Here's another example.
You don't even think to call me Godfather. You come into my house on the day my daughter is to be married and you ask me to do murder for money.
So that's an example with a different accent. Again, everything just sounds really natural. Let's hear the result from 11 Labs.
You don't even think to call me Godfather. You come into my house on the day my daughter is to be married, and you ask me to do murder for money.
Not bad. This is quite a close call. Honestly, both generations are pretty good, but note that Zonos is completely free to use, whereas 11 Labs is paid and it's pretty expensive. Here's an example of a tongue twister.
Brave bakers boldly bake big batches of brownies in beautiful bakeries.
And then let's hear 11 Labs.
Brave bakers boldly baked big batches of brownies in beautiful bakeries.
Again, both sound really good. Alright, let's see if it can handle more conversational text. So here's what Zonos sounds like.
I was like talking to my friend and she's all excited about her trip to Europe, and I'm just like so jealous, right?
Very nice, very nice. And then next, let's hear 11 Labs.
I was like talking to my friend and she's all excited about her trip to Europe, and I'm just like so jealous, right?
I have to say, I do prefer Zonos' version slightly more, but let me know in the comments what you think. And here's a really strange and challenging sentence. I think this is intentionally trying to mess it up. Let's see if Zonos can handle this.
Crafting a symphony of flavors, the skilled chef orchestrated a culinary masterpiece that left an indelible mark on the palates of the discerning diners.
Not bad, not bad. And then next, let's hear 11 Labs.
Crafting a symphony of flavors, the skilled chef orchestrated a culinary masterpiece that left an indelible mark on the palates of the discerning diners.
I would have to say in this case I do prefer 11 Labs a bit more. But honestly, the quality of both are really good. But enough of their demos, let's actually test this out ourselves. So here's what the interface looks like, and don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to install this step by step later in the video. And yes, this interface does have advanced parameters like emotions, which you can specify, which we'll go over in a second. But first, let's just do a really simple text-to-speech generation. So here is where you paste in the text. Let's get rid of this for now, and then here is where you upload around like 10 seconds of a person speaking. And what this will do is basically clone that person's voice and make it speak this text instead. So let's just upload a clip of an American female. Let me first play this for you.
Hi there. Need a smart, confident, friendly young adult voice? I'm ready and willing. So let's get started and get your audience absolutely hooked.
And we'll go over all of these settings in a second, but first let's just click Generate Audio and see what that gives us. Alright, this is what we get. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see the prompt that I gave it. And let me play this for you.
This is a simple test sentence. It is designed to evaluate the clarity and accuracy of the text-to-speech generator.
So, very nice. Notice that everything is automatic. I didn't specify any emotions yet. And then you can click here to download the audio. So, alright, that's simple text-to-speech. Next, let's go over all these settings. So, starting with this prefix audio, this is basically an audio clip that you can upload if you want it to start from this audio clip. Usually, I just leave this empty because it's not really needed. And then here is where you input the voice that you want to clone. And then you would check this if this voice sample has a lot of noise and you need to denoise the sample to add more clarity. But again, this voice sample is pretty good, so I will leave this off. And then at the top here, you can select two different models. So what do these two mean? If you go to their blog page and you scroll all the way down, here's where it shows the performance of the two models. The blue one is the original transformer model, the green one is the hybrid model, and across both these charts you can see that the hybrid model basically generates the audio a bit faster than the transformer model. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use the default hybrid model so that I can also generate things a bit faster. And then here is where you select the language. Now if you scroll down a bit, we have a ton of settings here, so let's go over all of them. Now, feel free to read the GitHub for more info, but really quickly, DNS-MOS basically determines how much it will be influenced by emotions and also languages. So here it says set it to 4 for very clean and neutral English speech. But if you want to get it to be more emotional, then you would adjust this value. And then here, Fmax is basically the maximum frequency of the audio. Here it says for the best results, select 22,000 or 24,000. So we're just going to leave it at the default. And then VQ score is also a setting that influences the expressiveness. So here it says a good value would be 0.78 for high quality speech. And then pitch standard deviation is, well, basically how much variation do you want the pitch to be. So if you set this to a higher value, there's going to be more dynamic variation in the pitch. And again, a higher value tends to give you more expressive speech. And then speaking rate is, well, how fast you want the speaker to read out your sentence. So again, I just tend to leave all of these at the default, but there are even more advanced parameters. And I think this is the feature that most of you are excited about, which is you can add emotions to this. Note that this is slightly confusing. This only works when you uncheck this box. If you check it, that makes it unconditional. In other words, it would set these emotions automatically. And also, if you check some of these other settings, for example, if you check VQ score and speaking rate, this will basically ignore the VQ score and speaking rate that you set up here. So let's uncheck this so it makes sure it follows these default values. So next, what I'm going to do is leave this checked which means it will ignore all these emotion settings. And then let's upload another voice. Let me play the sample for you.
This indie film festival looks fascinating. Shall we go and broaden our cinematic horizons?
So that's another voice that we will clone. Again, it's only like 6 seconds. And then from their documentation, it looks like it will automatically incorporate some emotions based on the text. So this is kind of context aware. So I will paste in quite a scary prompt. Did you hear that? I'm scared. It sounded like something moving in the dark. And then without setting any of these emotion settings, let's see if it can just get this girl to say this in a scared tone. So let's scroll down here and click generate.
Did you hear that? I'm scared. It sounded like something moving in the dark.
Okay, so it's kind of neutral, to be honest. She doesn't sound too scared, but I hope that gives you a sense of what this sounds like if you don't specify any emotions. So next, we will uncheck this box so it will use these emotional sliders, and then let's drag happiness all the way to 0, and then fear all the way to 1, and then neutral, let's set it to, 0.06, and then click generate audio again and see if this sounds any more fearful. Alright, here's what we get.
Did you hear that? I'm scared. It sounded like something moving in the dark.
Very nice, so at least to me, this does sound more fearful than the previous generation where we just set everything to automatic. But let me know in the comments below, which one do you think sounds more scared? Alright, next, I'm going to upload a British male voice. Let me first play this for you.
There is an art, the Hitchhiker's Guide says, or rather a knack to flying. It lies in learning how to throw yourself at the ground and miss.
So again, super short sample, this is only 8 seconds, and then let's try a happy prompt. Wow, today is amazing, the sun is shining, everything just feels perfect. I can't stop smiling. And then, first let's check this emotion box, which will again ignore all of these settings and set the emotion to automatic. So let's see if it can automatically detect the emotion here and generate a good audio sample. So I'm going to scroll down and then click generate. By the way, note that I'm using an RTX 5000 Ada, which has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and this is quite fast. This only takes like under 10 seconds to generate the audio. Anyways, here's what we get.
Wow. Today is absolutely amazing. The sun is shining and everything just feels perfect. I can't stop smiling.
You can hear that it does incorporate the appropriate emotions and expressiveness into this prompt. So really nice. Now next, let's actually customize the emotion. So I'm going to uncheck this box. For fear, I'm going to drag it all the way to 0, disgust 0, and then happiness, let's drag it all the way to 1, and then click generate audio and see what that gives us. Alright, and this is what we get.
Wow, today is absolutely amazing. The sun is shining and everything just feels perfect. I can't stop smiling.
Very nice, and you can see it does add a touch of happiness to this prompt. Now, instead of getting this person to be happy, let's actually get him to speak the same prompt, but in a really sad and disgusted tone. So let's see if it can handle that.
Wow. Today is absolutely amazing. The sun is shining and everything just feels perfect. I can't stop smiling.
Okay, there you go. So it's not as happy as the previous generation. There is a touch of sadness or disgust in this generation, but let me know in the comments what you think. Alright, next what I want to try out is actually uploading a sad sounding sample. And then without setting any of these emotions, let me see if it can actually just clone the sadness of the original voice. So here's the sample, let me play this for you.
Can we just get on with it already? My body is starting to take a toll.
So really sad dude crying, and then let's add in a really sad prompt. I'm so sad, why did things have to turn out this way? It feels like everything is falling apart. And then let's scroll down here and check this emotion box, which will basically ignore all these emotions. So let's see if it can just clone the sadness of this voice automatically.
I'm so sad. Why did things have to turn out this way? It feels like everything is falling apart.
Okay, so that's what we get. Pretty interesting. It does kind of clone the original sadness of the clip. Now, next, let's actually uncheck this so we can toggle the emotions. And yes, let's drag sadness all the way to 1. maybe add in some fear in here as well. And then let's click generate audio and see if this is any sadder.
I'm so sad. Why did things have to turn out this way? It feels like everything is falling apart.
Beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. It does sound really, really sad. So it looks like, manually adjusting these emotions would make it sound a bit more realistic. So I really love this feature where you can just adjust the strength of each individual emotion. Alright, next let me upload a voice sample of Gura. So here's what the original sounds like.
Do you get nervous maintaining eye contact when talking with people, or are you the type to stare people down when talking? Can we get a staring contest with Chad? I'm terrible at eye contact.
So again, really short 10-second clip. Now, instead of getting her to speak English, let's try French. So I'm going to paste it in here and then select French, which I guess is this one. And then let's keep all the settings the same and then click generate.
Il fait beau aujourd'hui, parfait pour une promenade.
Okay, it doesn't really sound accurate. Let me close this and then zoom out a bit so you can see the French here. Let me play this again.
Il fait beau aujourd'hui, parfait pour une promenade.
Well, I guess it is kind of speaking this sentence. If you're French, let me know if this sounds horrible or actually decent. By the way, it says here it supports English, Japanese, Chinese, French, and German. However, the Japanese doesn't seem to work for me, and then I can't actually find Chinese in this dropdown. So unfortunately for multilingual, it doesn't really do so well. Let's try German this time. So I'm going to paste in this German prompt and then select German, which is DE. And then let's choose another voice. Let's do this voice.
You've been working so hard lately. How about I give you a relaxing shoulder massage?
This is a voice sample from Kling, by the way. Anyways, let's see if she can pronounce this German.
Heute ist das Wetter schön und die Sonne scheint.
Alright, well, I don't speak German, so I have no idea if this sounds accurate, but if you're German, let me know in the comments below. Does this sound absolutely horrible, or is this actually legit? So those are some demos of what it can and cannot do. Next, let's actually go over how to install this and run it locally. Thanks to AI Portrait for sponsoring this video. A good professional photo on your LinkedIn or business profile makes a huge difference. Now, you could try to take them yourself or get a friend to do so, but most people aren't great at taking professional photos. Or you could hire a professional photo shoot, but this costs over $200 on average, plus you need to schedule a session and spend hours awkwardly posing at a camera. And this brings us to AI Portrait. You can generate a portfolio of professional, high-quality photos in just minutes. Just upload one photo, choose your gender, and it would generate a portfolio of 50 professional headshots in various settings. And it generates this within minutes. So if you're looking for high-quality professional photos without the hassle of a physical photo shoot, AI Portrait is your best bet. Check it out via the link in the description below. So all the instructions are on their GitHub page. First of all, if you scroll down, it does say you need a recent NVIDIA GPU with 6 GB of VRAM or more. Now, even though here it says it only supports Linux systems, which I assume most of you don't have, there's actually another fork of this, which supports Zonos for Windows, and this is a really easy one-click install. So that's exactly what we're going to use today. But if you don't have a good enough GPU to run this, they also have a chat interface for you to use Zonos online. Now that being said, this interface does not include the options that you see here, like adjusting all these parameters and adjusting the emotion. So everything is unfortunately automatic if you use the online platform. So let me just show you this as a quick example. I'm going to use this British female, okay, and then click generate. Alright, let's hear what this sounds like.
Hello, and welcome to Zonos. Try out one of our default voices or test a random voice.
Not bad, so this is a free-ish online alternative to 11 Labs. But for us, let's go back to the GitHub so we can install this locally for Windows, since that's what I'm using. Now, the first step is to use Git to clone this repository to your computer. This does require you to have Git installed. If you don't have Git, here's how to install it. if you already have Git installed, feel free to skip to the next section. So all we gotta do is download the latest release for whatever operating system you're using. So I'm using Windows, so I'm just gonna click on download for Windows. I'm running 64-bit, so I'm gonna click on this to download, and it's now downloading this exe file. So once that's completed, all we gotta do is open that exe file and then follow the steps. So I'm gonna click on next. I'm just gonna go with the default install location, which is program files/git. So I'll click next for that. And then I'm just gonna leave this at the default. And then I'm gonna click next again and click next here. We're just gonna use the default settings for all of these. There's a lot of settings that you need to go through, so I'm just gonna click next for all of these. Alright, and then it should go ahead and install all the files, so this might take a few minutes. Perfect, so now we have Git installed. Alright, assuming you have Git installed, the next step is to use Git to clone this repository. Now, you can choose to clone this into a folder wherever you want on your computer. I'm going to clone it on my desktop, so once I have desktop opened, I'm going to click at the top here and then type in cmd to basically open up command prompt on my desktop. And then the next step is over here. Let's click this button and then copy this URL. And then back in our command prompt, we are going to type git clone and then paste in the URL. And after that is done, you should see this Zonos folder on your desktop. So let's open this up and note that it contains all the files and folders that you see here. Alright, so the next step it says here is to open an administrator PowerShell window. So in my Windows search bar, I'm going to search PowerShell and then click on Run as Administrator. And then next it says type in this and then answer A. So let me just copy this here and then paste it over here. Alright, so I'm going to answer A and then close this window. Alright, so after that is done, it's just a one-click install. So we just need to use PowerShell to run this. Now, note that whenever you install these open source AI tools, it's best to create a virtual environment and then install everything there. Think of a virtual environment as like a separate hard drive on your computer that contains all the packages and dependencies for that particular tool. And the reason you want to separate that is because you don't want it to conflict with existing packages and dependencies and tools that you might have on your computer. But if you actually open this install.ps1 file, note that it automatically creates a virtual environment for you. So we don't actually have to manually do that step. Anyways, going back to our folder, we are going to right-click on this and then click Run with PowerShell. And that's pretty much it. So you can see now it's installing a dependency called UV, and then now it's creating the virtual environment. It's using Python 3.10, and then it's installing some additional requirements like setup tools, wheel, flash attention, Mamba, etc. So this is going to take a while depending on the speed of your internet. Okay, next it's installing Torch, which is like over 2 gigabytes in size, so again, this is going to take a while. Alright, so if all goes well, you should see this install finished message. So once you press enter, then it would automatically close the window. That's pretty much all you need to do to install it. It's a one-click install, at least for Windows. Now, in order to run this, all you need to do is double-click on this, or if this doesn't automatically use PowerShell, you can also right-click and then select Run with PowerShell. Note that for the first time you run this, it's also going to create a library, which is going to take a few minutes. And after that, it actually automatically opens up this Gradio interface on my browser. So even though I'm using the Chrome browser, note that this page is completely local. This is not an online page. And then when I open up command prompt, it looks like it needs to download this safe tensors file, which is basically the model that generates the audio. And apparently this is over 3 gigabytes in size. So again, depending on the speed of your internet, this might take a while. Okay, so after it has installed the safe tensors file, note that this Gradio interface is now ready to run. Now let me close this up and actually show you how do you start this from scratch, let's say the next day. So it's really simple. All you need to do is open your Zonos folder and then right click on this run gradio.ps1 file and then run it with PowerShell. And it would automatically open up a Gradio interface at this address on your browser. So that's pretty much how you get this installed and running. So that sums up my installation tutorial and review of Zonos text-to-speech. Again, this is a free open source alternative, which is as good or even better than 11 Labs. And the awesome thing about it is you can specify the emotions of the speech. So this gives you a lot more versatility. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. And if you run into any errors while installing or running this, also welcome to paste the error message in the comments below, and I'll try to help you troubleshoot as much as possible. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.